What I love about cooking and being a chef is that it really challenges you on a creative level and also on a physical level. I mean, cooking is a physical act, it's a craft, right? But there's also a creative aspect to it. And I think it's the combination of those two things that make it very rewarding for me. Benu is a restaurant that I opened in 2010, and we offer a tasting menu here. And we work with flavors that explore what American food is today and what that means. I think we have a modern approach to cooking, and when I say modern, I don't necessarily mean that we're always trying to do something to surprise people or give them something that they can't identify or they don't have a reference point to. I use the term modern more in an open-minded sense. I think we're trying to create a great memory for people, something that's lasting. I think it's really nice when you can leave a dinner that you had years ago even and remember a few dishes that really struck a chord with you. And I think that's a true success. It's always hard to answer the question of what is your favorite dish. For me, it changes all the time. But if I had to pick one, it's actually a dish that's been on the menu since we opened, which is this little 1,000-year-old quail leg that we do. Because it's really rooted in tradition. It's in some ways, it's very much a traditional dish. But the way we make it and the fact that we're making it with quail eggs instead of duck eggs that it's traditionally made with, and also the techniques that we've incorporated and researched to apply to these quail eggs, it's actually very modern and very new. And so it's kind of a hybrid between something very traditional and something very modern, and I think that really resonates with me. InSitu, inside the SF MoMA, is a restaurant that I opened this last summer. It's the summer of 2016, and it's really about offering a very fun and engaging cultural program within the museum that's related to food. Every dish that we do at InSitu is a collaboration with the chef who made the work originally, and basically offer more access to the great work that's going around the world. Who's doing something very interesting out there? Who's influencing the way we cook? Who's changing the way people dine? That's the kind of questions we ask when we reach out to the chefs. And InSitu, for me, I'm more of a conduit between the chefs and the original work and the people visiting the restaurant and visiting the museum. What I want to do is be able to offer this amazing work from these great restaurants as accurately and as faithfully as possible. Some of the dishes at InSitu were more challenging to get than others. Some are because the ingredients themselves you can't get here. I think of one dish from Nam in Bangkok in Thailand, and David Thompson, who's the chef there, was very concerned about getting the exact spice blend because so much of his dish and his cooking is based on authentic spices from Thailand. So after going back and forth a few times, we realized there was really no substitute we can find here. And so he ended up going to Chiang Mai in the northern part of Thailand, getting 50 pounds of the spice mix together and shipping them over to us. So that's one example of where the ingredient was really important. And then in some other dishes, it was really about the concept of the dish being communicated. I think about one dish from Maimo in Norway. It's a very simple ice cream using the milk from the cows in the restaurant. And it's so simple, we start to ask ourselves, well, can we really replicate that here if we're not using the same milk and the same butter and the cows aren't grazing on the same grasses? But then we start to understand that that dish wasn't necessarily about that exact butter, but it was about reflecting the seasons changing through the butter, so you can really have this connection to the land. And you can have that connection using local butter here from Sonoma. The butter's flavor changes from spring to summer to fall as the grass changes. So it's really in keeping with the spirit of the dish, even though the exact flavor might be different from the butter they're using in Norway. I think everyone lives in their kind of own food bubble, in our own little world of flavors, and it's very hard to have a conversation about food because it's so qualitative. And I think the future involves a quantitative way to analyze food and talk about food. The world is certainly getting smaller and smaller, but food is still a highly subjective and personal thing. And it's influenced by our personal preferences, by cultural influences. So I think a way to communicate on a global level about food and flavor is really the new frontier.